board is a tax cut. If you're a family of four making $55,000, you pay zero in federal tax. This is an advantage for all of America to get stronger and more competitive.
This legislation will provide tax relief to working families.
Now, there was concern the bill was in jeopardy in the Senate, with Senator John McCain recovering in Arizona, thus allowing for only one defection. But right now, there is only one. That's Arizona's other Senator, Jeff Flake.
Still looking at the bill, still reading the bill, still working on some other issues.
And it's expected to easily clear the House, although some members from high tax states like New York oppose it.
I'm still going to be a no. The changes in the SALT deduction actually don't satisfy the needs of the people that I represent.
And no Democrat will vote for it. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi actually calling it a GOP tax scam that is a Frankenstein's monster of giveaways to the wealthy. Just to be safe, by the way, Vice President Pence postponed a trip to Israel to be on hand in case he needs to break a tie in the Senate. We'll see. In one other order of business, guys, they'll need to avoid that government shutdown with the Friday deadline, but it appears most say that they're going to pass a temporary bill and punt to January. And just for perspective, last time we got significant tax reform, Tom Cruise graced the big screen in Top Gun.
86, right? That was Reagan's plan, and that's a great movie.
I like that fun fact. Thanks,
Griff,
Greg.
thank you so much. All right. Economic optimism soaring right now. The Dow rising 5,000 points for the first time in a single year. But if you ask the hosts of MSNBC's Morning Joe, the GOP tax plan is a doomsday waiting for all Americans, specifically millennials.
Millennials, you just had $1.5 trillion stolen from you. Now, past Congresses have stolen $20 trillion from you. And over the next 10 years, they're going to steal another $10 trillion from you. And they're going to die. And then you're going to be left holding the bill. And yes, Nick, isn't it?
There you go. Trump 2016 deputy campaign manager and president of Citizens United, David Bossie, says the mainstream media gives President Trump zero credit.
The problem with the Democrat Party is they have no ideas and no agenda for the American people. That's why they continue to lose elections and in droves. So look, this tax plan is good for all Americans, not Democrat or Republican, conservative, liberals. This is a good tax reform package for all Americans. So I just want to say that if the mainstream media just gives no credit to this president, this economy is on his back. He is carrying it through deregulation and through the sheer force of his will. And he understands what businesses want, and businesses know that they have a business-friendly president. Let me just say, if Barack Obama had had a 3% and near 4% GDP, he would have gotten the Nobel Prize for economics. And that's the difference here. They can't even look at this objectively and say how good this would be for the American people.
FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe coming face-to-face with the House Intelligence Committee today. The closed-door meeting expected to focus on former top FBI agent Peter Strzok's apparent anti-Trump bias and his role in the Hillary Clinton email investigation. Republican Senator Chuck Grassley now calling for McCabe's removal. Grassley claims he's biased after his wife ran for a Virginia state Senate seat financially backed by Clinton associates. The Senate Intelligence Committee just postponed its meeting with demoted Department of Justice official Bruce Orr about his ties to Fusion GPS after brand new documents surfaced related to the hearing. That meeting now expected to happen later this week.
America is going to win. President Trump unveiling his first national security strategy, highlighting his accomplishments in office and fulfilling his promise to put America first.
We have dealt ISIS one devastating defeat after another. Our campaign of maximum pressure on the North Korean regime has resulted in the toughest ever sanctions. With this strategy, we are calling for a great reawakening of America, a resurgence of confidence, and a rebirth of patriotism, prosperity, and pride.
It was a powerful 30-minute speech yesterday. The four principles of the president's strategy: restricting immigration, pressuring trade partners, building up the military, and increasing the United States' global influence. The strategy also highlights Russia and China as rivals of the United States and challenges North Korea and Iran's nuclear weapons programs. We'll have more on this coming up here in a few minutes.
While you were sleeping, the U.S. confirming North Korea was the mastermind behind the largest ransomware cyber attack in history. The Wall Street Journal reports the erratic communist country pulled off the worldwide WannaCry hack earlier this year. The attack kidnapped 230,000 computers, including hospitals, in 150 countries and caused more than $4 billion worth of damages. He's accused of killing a teenager and injuring more than 20 people in Times Square and now plans to claim he is insane. Richard Rojas' lawyer saying he'll likely enter an insanity defense. Rojas is facing charges including second-degree murder for allegedly driving up onto the sidewalk and hitting pedestrians in May. Authorities say he then got out of the crashed car and yelled, quote, "I want to kill them all."
Well, delays stretching into another day after a crippling blackout at the world's busiest airport. New video shows the extent of the electrical fire damage that left Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta, Georgia, in the dark for nearly 11 hours. Crews still working to make repairs. In all, more than 1,400 flights were canceled on this very busy travel week, leaving thousands of passengers stranded right before maybe the busiest, the holiday travel weekend that is coming up. All right, fighting devastating wildfire flames in California from the skies. A plane you can see here, a DC-10 making a huge water drop on the Thomas Fire and right above a rainbow, in fact. Some very interesting images coming out of California. The fire has scorched mountainsides for 2 weeks. It is massive in scale. The fire has killed one firefighter battling those flames. Actor Rob Lowe actually stepped in to thank some of the heroes fighting this blaze, feeding them dinner at his California home after they saved his neighborhood. We love that.
What a nice gesture. Prince William and Duchess Kate unveiling their adorable family Christmas card. Prince George and Princess Charlotte color coordinating with their parents. Their idea, I'm sure. Donning various shades of blue. By this time next year, the foursome will be a family of 5. Will and Kate are expecting a baby in April. Clarence House also releasing a Christmas card from Prince Charles and Duchess Camilla. It was taken during the Duchess's 70th birthday party. Great photos.
There's your royal update.
Yes.
All right, 12 minutes after the hour, President Trump putting America first in his national security strategy. Our next guest says this bold speech puts the Obama administration's policies to shame.
A cartoon president coming soon. Give me an Emmy.
Late night host Stephen Colbert getting animated with his attacks on President Trump.
And it's a Christmas miracle. Hangover-free booze, so they claim.
What?
Is about to become a reality. We shall see.
Our strategy calls for us to confront, discredit, and defeat radical Islamic terrorism and ideology, and to prevent it from spreading into the United States.
All right, putting America first. President Trump taking a much different approach than his predecessors, offering no more apologies.
This as he stresses American strength and economic security, putting rivals like China and Russia on notice. So is he making the right move when it comes to protecting our country?
Here to weigh in is national security and military analyst Dr. Rebecca Grant. Doctor, thanks so much for coming on this morning. It was a pretty good speech yesterday, about 30 minutes long. What did you make of it?
Good morning. It was a great speech. It was like a salty New York pretzel after a decade of applesauce. So President Trump has thrown out a lot of that college term paper lingo from the Obama era and given us a really key new takeaway, and that is stand up for ourselves. And he's given us a Trump doctrine.
Well, let's take a look at the 4 principles right now, starting with protecting the homeland, advancing American prosperity, preserving peace through strength, and enhancing American influence. Out of these 4 things, what do you think is the most important, and how difficult do you think it will be to enforce all of this?
All
or not at all?
Yeah, all four of them are important, but the first one really stands out to me, protect the homeland. Here, Trump has done something really new. He's added immigration security, vetting potential terrorists in the refugee flow. He's added that to protecting it. And he said a nation without borders is not a nation. Who can disagree with that? Now, add on top, he'll also have to do layered missile defense and many other sophisticated things that protect our homeland.
You know, he also said something about advancing American influence abroad, and I think there was some question about whether or not that steps on his former kind of idea that America was going to kind of take a step back, and I don't know if you want to say be more of an isolationist nation, but, you know, not go into nation building and all the stuff like that. It almost seemed like there was a bit of confusion there about where exactly the policy stands.
No nation building, but it's not isolation either. In fact, he pointed out in his speech our alliances are stronger than ever. NATO at 29 members. There are 70 countries and entities in the anti-ISIS coalition. So he's very much sticking with our allies. But he says we have to take care of American prosperity first. He's getting us ready for a long-term competition with China, and our economy is what makes our military power strong. That's what's really fresh in this speech, is recognizing we've got to have a strong economy to deter and balance with our military throughout the world.
Dr. Grant, there are a couple of things that are changing in order to keep up with this America First idea. So let's go ahead and take a look at this list, starting with Islamist terrorism, a renewed focus as a major threat. Climate change, I've seen a lot of backlash to this one so far, no longer a national security threat. In the Middle East, Iran, not Israel, is the threat to peace. And on immigration, I mean, he's been very strong on this, ending chain migration, increasing vetting. What's your take on this, on the differences?
Some big differences. I care about the climate, but climate change doesn't have to be in this national security strategy. So I think it's a good move to put climate change somewhere else. He's talking, of course, about Iran. We know what he's refused to recertify the Iran deal. Don't forget, there's almost a mini Cold War going on between Iran and Saudi Arabia. So with Iran rests a lot of the future of the Middle East. He's rightly called out that we've won a big victory against ISIS. Iraq is now almost 100% free from ISIS influence. Huge win, and he rightly thanked our military for that.
Yeah, well, it was interesting to see. I even saw CNN give him some credit for outlining all of this so early on in his 4-year administration, bringing this out so fast. So thank you so much, Doctor. We appreciate your time this morning.
Great. Thank you.
Remember the state attorney general who fought President Trump's travel ban?
Any sort of discrimination that occurs that's unconstitutional or illegal, if it results in any harm to our state, then we're going to fight it.
And we're going to tell you how he's taking that battle to the next level.
And liberal comedian Sarah Silverman taking a huge swipe at the right, why she says patriotism is perverted.
Good morning and welcome back. Taking aim at President Trump and slamming his signature campaign promise of America First.
Yeah, comedian Sarah Silverman even calling patriotism perverted. Kelly Wright is live in Washington with more on all of this. Hey, Kelly.
Rob and Julie, good morning to you. Look, here's the buzz on comedian Sarah Silverman. She loves America, but she said in an interview with Vice that as a nation, quote, we're so divided and we can't even agree on the facts of what we're fighting over. Having said that, Silverman, the host of her own show on Hulu, I Love You, America, is creating quite a stir with her comments about what she says is the current state of the nation. Silverman adding in her interview, patriotism is perverted. We're not on the same page of what it means. To me, being patriotic is loving your country, being a citizen, having a voice, being e pluribus unum. And how perverted is it to go from we are one to we are number one, which is such a childish idea? Silverman claims President Trump is part to blame for perverted patriotism. Silverman also believes that conservatives and liberals in America have created two kinds of patriotism, but she adds they are more alike than they are different. She blames the differences between the two groups on the media, Silverman opining that we're just getting our news from outlets that are telling us different types of stories. Meanwhile, a new poll shows 65% conservatives are proud to be American, but only 37% liberals agree. The Comedy star Silverman says she loves all Americans, even people she disagrees with. A lot of people will likely disagree with her as well. Back to
yes. I'm sure they will. Kelly, thank you.
All right.
So much to say, but I won't. This story has a lot of people talking this morning.
And we asked you, when did patriotism become a partisan issue? Gregory on Facebook posting, anyone not proud to be an American needs to seek residence elsewhere.
Amen. Ben tweeting, for the left, patriotism means open borders, amnesty, and handouts. The right is a pro-military and law enforcement. American pride is empowering and should be political proof.
And Elaine on Twitter writes, quote, when they took the Pledge of Allegiance out of the classroom to accommodate non-citizens. We want to thank you for your comments. And by the way, you can keep them coming because I'm sure a lot of people have a lot to say about this one. So, in some other news, Stephen Colbert makes a living bashing our commander-in-chief, and now his attacks are getting even more animated.
Wait a minute. Our cartoon president coming soon. Give me an Emmy.
His new show, Our Cartoon President, will debut on Showtime in February. The network says the series will parody President Trump and his, quote, merry band of advisors and family members.
All right, two professors taking on President Trump, urging others to do the same. The University of Colorado Denver professors asking other teachers in an article to incorporate social justice training to combat the injurious effect on students under the Trump administration. The professors writing, the current climate in which the university finds itself is dominated by laws, policies, and political discourse that dehumanize certain students.
This is disturbing. A Fox News alert. Your sons will return to you in coffins. That threat from ISIS as they take aim at the U.S. Army and their families. The terrifying new plan. FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe coming face-to-face with the House Intelligence Committee today amid new calls for his removal.
And Todd Pyro is here now with what we can expect today. Hey, Todd.
Hey, Rob. Hey, Jillian. Good morning to you. It is Andrew McCabe's turn in the hot seat today. Top Republicans on the House Intel Committee expected to grill the FBI Deputy Director as they scrutinize a bunch of anti-Trump texts. One of those texts getting a lot of attention right now out of the hundreds between FBI officials Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, who were romantically involved and worked on Robert Mueller's Russia probe. Strzok wrote, quote, I want to believe the path you threw out for consideration in Andy's office, that there's no way he gets elected, but I'm afraid we can't take that risk. It's like an insurance policy in the unlikely event you die before you're 40. Many lawmakers think Andy is a reference to Andrew McCabe and want to know more about his communications with Page and Strzok. Some, though, like Senate Judiciary Chair Chuck Grassley, want McCabe out. Grassley telling reporters, quote, he ought to be replaced, and I've said that before, and I've said it to people who can do it, end quote. All this comes as the lawyer for the Trump transition team accuses the General Services Administration, the GSA, of unlawfully producing emails to the FBI and Mueller's special counsel office, claiming they were privileged, while the GSA is saying there's no expectation of privacy in those communications because they end in a .gov. Meantime, Bruce Orr, the former Associate Deputy Attorney General, demoted at the Justice Department in the wake of revelations about those undisclosed meetings he had with Fusion GPS, did not testify as scheduled yesterday. We reported he was going to testify on Monday. He did not. Now he is expected to appear before the Senate Intel Committee later this week. His appearance was delayed after the committee got documents which members want to review before they question him. Guys, back to you.
All right, Todd, thank you. Now to a Fox News alert. The Amtrak passenger train that derailed in Washington State, plummeting onto a highway below, was speeding. Let's take you live right now in DuPont, where the FBI and NTSB are on the scene, combing through the horrific crash that left at least 3 people dead and nearly 100 others hurt. The train was going over 80 miles per hour moments before the steep curve, where the speed limit, by the way, is only 30. It then fell off the tracks, sending rail cars crashing, falling over like dominoes and sending passengers flying like ping pong balls.
I was just on the floor like a pinball, and everything on that car was rubble.
People started flying towards me.
It sort of felt like war.
It was the Amtrak train's first trip on the new route designed to speed up travel in the Northwest.
All right, your sons will return to you in coffins. A sick new ISIS threat targeting the U.S. Army and the State Department. In a very disgusting new propaganda video, the terror group claims it hacked into our government systems, obtaining addresses, vowing to send assassins to employees' homes. We haven't verified if any of this is true. With scenes of war, bombings, and terror attacks playing in the background, the footage also declares Muslims will return to being masters of the world.
He single-handedly tried to stop the president's travel ban, and now he wants to work on Capitol Hill. The outspoken anti-Trump Attorney General of Hawaii, Doug Chin, announcing he's running for Congress. He filed lawsuits against every single one of the president's travel orders before the Supreme Court ruled in the president's favor. Chin is seeking the seat left open by Representative Colleen Hanabusha, who is running for governor.
All right, what could be historic tax reform, and it could be just hours away. The GOP poised to pass President Trump's $1.5 trillion tax bill as it heads for the big final vote today, and then possibly to the president's desk to be signed into law as early as tonight. We shall see. Many Republicans say this long-anticipated campaign promise is overdue.
Everyone's sick of the swamp. President Trump ran against that. Bernie ran against that. The left forgets, right? The middle class hasn't seen a wage increase in 30 to 40 years. Real wages up. They've been flat for 40 years. That's what the last election was about.
All right, this as Vice President Mike Pence has postponed a trip to Israel in case he needs to be on hand to be the tiebreaker in this, as, of course, John McCain is back in Arizona. Also, Congress also working to avoid a government shutdown by Friday, so it is a big week.
How about this? We will see a black hole for the first time ever in 2018, and this is what it could look like. Astronomers expect to see the silhouette of the disk of the supermassive black hole at the heart of our galaxy burned against a background of superheated plasma. The NRAO using an Earth-sized telescope to catch the glimpse 26,000 light years away. My goodness.
That stuff
is crazy.
Just so fascinating to me. I can't get enough of the space stuff. And Janice is here now to talk about the weather. Not quite as high up in the sky as the black holes.
No black hole lessons today. But let's take a look at the temperatures because it's warm here in the Northeast along the East Coast. But I have to say, as we get into Christmas, maybe a cool down, maybe a little bit of snow on Christmas Day. We'll have to stay tuned to that. But you can see where we've got the frontal boundary, the eastern half of the country warmer than average, and then we're getting the cooler air from Canada across the northern plains. But look, I mean, we're talking about 6 to 12 degree difference from what it was this time yesterday. There's the past 24 hours. We have a storm system moving into the warm and humid and a lot of moisture for the southeast. But look what happens to the northeast. Is that snow I detect across New York City, upstate New York, and New England? It is possible, as we are expecting a change in the forecast as we get into Christmas. But for now, it's weirdly warm here across the East Coast.
It is. That forecast looks fun.
It's keeping the weather people in business.
Yes, it is.
Right.
Thank you.
Right?
Thanks, Janice.
Stay tuned.
It is 37 minutes after the hour. The media brushing aside the Mueller team's bias scandal like it's no big deal.
Conservative media is fueling that divide right now.
They are fomenting a constitutional crisis. Yes. What they are doing could lead to violence.
Our next guest says they won't report on it because it doesn't fit their narrative.
And wondering what not to say at your Christmas party? The most annoying word of the year has been revealed.
Can't wait.
48 over 120 equals x over 100, and then you cross multiply and get the value of x. Whatever. I'm getting cheese bread.
Good Tuesday morning. The mainstream media continuing their assault on President Trump and his agenda. But is the press using its power to distract from the administration's major accomplishments?
Here to help us break this down, break down some of the most vicious attacks on the Trump agenda is the managing editor of Olympic Media, Katie Freites. Katie, there's so much to talk about in this segment here. The first one we want to get to is how the mainstream media has covered what appears to be some severe bias and maybe throwing the election, an attempt to throw the election by the FBI. The mainstream media appears to hate this story, which is just amazing to me. And they say that it puts America's security in danger to report on it. I want you to listen to this montage here real quick.
This has been a months-long, orchestrated, frankly pathetic, and also dangerous attack.
It's a real example of the divide in the country and how conservative media is fueling that divide right now.
They are fomenting a constitutional crisis. Yes. What they are doing could lead to violence.
And I mean, we're talking about real texts between FBI agents investigating the president and Hillary Clinton, texts that appear to show them wanting to throw the election to Hillary Clinton, and this is their response.
You can't make that up.
It's amazing.
You can't. And look, everyone has biases, right? But these biases